Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today I'll analyze the case of Baron Lee and Shaerin Kelley. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Baron Lee was born in July 1972 in Thailand. His family moved to Hawaii when he was young. After being mistreated for years, Baron was placed in foster care. As an adult, he lived in Las Vegas, Nevada, and worked in a casino as a dealer. In 2010, Baron met a woman named Shaerin Rose Kelley. She was about 18 years younger than him, having been born in 1990. The couple became romantically involved and married that same year. They moved to Bellevue, Washington, where Shaerin was from. The couple had a son named Eric. He was born with a medical condition that physicians misdiagnosed. This led to permanent brain damage. Eric would require 24-hour care for the rest of his life. As a result of a malpractice lawsuit filed on Eric's behalf, a trust fund was established to pay for his medical care. In August of 2015, Shaerin Kelley filed for a divorce. Initially, she had custody of Eric. Baron Lee moved back to Nevada. He became romantically involved with a woman named Dee, who had 2 children from a previous marriage. The couple became engaged. In 2017, Child Protective Services removed Eric from Shaerin's care and placed him in foster care. In 2019, Baron Lee was granted primary custody of his son, Eric. In order to care for his son, Baron, Dee, and Dee's 2 children moved from Nevada to Washington. They lived in Overlook at Lakemont Apartments in Bellevue. At some point, Baron and Dee married. Baron supported his family by working as a sales manager at a Toyota dealership. During this time, Shaerin Kelley continued to see Eric. She was permitted overnight visits. Eventually, the judge ordered that all visits between Shaerin and Eric be supervised. Before moving to the timeline of the crime, let's hear a word from today's sponsor, Delete Me. Over the past few years, I've covered a lot of stalking cases which involve a perpetrator easily finding personal information online. When people try to get this information removed, they find it's extremely time-consuming. Fortunately, there is a solution. Delete Me is a subscription service that can eliminate this type of personal information that is for sale online. They have the straightforward mission of removing customers' information from search results and upholding your right to manage and remove your personal information. The privacy experts at Delete Me work continually to remove information from hundreds of data brokers. This gets rid of your personal data like address, occupation, marital status, age, names of relatives, and so on. How does it work? Submit your information to Delete Me, and their experts remove it. After that, they check every 3 months to make sure any new data gets removed as well. If you want to get your personal information removed from search results on the web, go to joindeleteme.com/Dr. Grande. Delete Me is offering 20% off their privacy plans to all my viewers with code Dr. Grande. Again, that's joindeleteme.com/Dr. Grande, promo code Dr. Grande. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. On July 10, 2020, at about 8:23 a.m., a few witnesses who lived in Baron's apartment complex called 911 and reported hearing multiple gunshots and screaming. When the police arrived, they found 48-year-old Baron Lee by his vehicle in the parking lot. He had been shot 9 times, but was still alive. Here's what the police found during the course of their investigation. From the hospital where Baron was being treated, he told the police what happened. He said that he was walking from his apartment to his vehicle when he heard what he thought was a firecracker. He looked over his left shoulder but did not see anything. When he looked over his right shoulder, he saw a person holding a pistol and approaching him. He did not know if the assailant was male or female, but the individual was thin. The perpetrator shot Baron in the arm. Baron ran toward his vehicle with the intent of climbing inside, hoping this would afford him some protection. As he was running, the perpetrator shot him in the leg, and Baron fell to the ground. As Baron was next to his vehicle, the assailant shot him 7 more times. He had been shot in his chest, hip, legs, and arms. Based on the shape of the attacker's body, Baron knew the person who shot him was not his ex-wife, Shaerin Kelley, but Baron believed she was the only person who might want to kill him. The trust that had been set up to take care of Eric was worth almost $900,000. Perhaps Shaerin was interested in getting control of this money. At the scene of the shooting, the police found multiple spent cases. The pistol used was chambered in .380 ACP. Witnesses, including Barron, said the shooter had picked up some of the spent cases. Nothing was stolen during the attack, even though Barron had several valuable items on his person when he was shot. The police found a surveillance camera on a nearby commercial building, which had captured some useful video. Over an hour before the shooting, a dark red Ford F-150 pickup truck had parked nearby, and a person could be seen making their way toward the apartment complex. Right after the shooting, a person could be seen running back toward the red pickup truck. At this point, the truck was seen leaving the area. Investigators were able to track the movement of the Ford F-150 by using various traffic cameras. The vehicle contained a driver and a passenger. The passenger was wearing a gold chain and had incorrectly positioned the shoulder strap of the seatbelt under his right arm. This hitman's commitment to safety was as questionable as his shooting skills. The police were able to read the license plate and learn the pickup truck was owned by a man named Arthur Mendez, who lived in Mount Vernon, Washington. This is about an hour and a half north of Bellevue. The primary driver of the Ford F-150 was Arthur's 17-year-old son, Quincy Mendez. Quincy's cell phone activity placed him at Barron's apartment complex during the time of the shooting. The police learned that Quincy was friends with another 17-year-old named Joseph Good. When the police were following Quincy around, they noticed that Joseph was in the passenger seat of the pickup truck. He was wearing a gold chain and incorrectly wearing his seatbelt, just like the passenger captured on the video right after the shooting. The authorities monitored Joseph's cell phone activity. They noticed that he had forwarded himself an email containing a link to a security company which sold GPS tracking devices. Officers wondered if someone had planted a tracking device on Barron Lee's Toyota Camry. When they examined the vehicle, which was still in their possession, officers found a tracking device on the ground under the rear. It had been taped to the vehicle and fell off while the vehicle was being stored. Records from the security company indicated that Shaerin Kelley had purchased the device in 2015, but she did not activate it until June 25, 2020. This was about 2 weeks before her ex-husband, Barron Lee, was shot. 4 days after the shooting, Shaerin Kelley deactivated her account. It appeared as though Shaerin and Joseph had been involved in a conspiracy to murder Barron. Communication between the pair supported this theory. For example, several weeks after the shooting, Joseph Good sent a text message to Shaerin asking if he would be paid soon. Shaerin replied, quote, "Job unfinished. We'll need to complete unless it resolves on its own in the next month," unquote. Joseph seemed confused by this response and wrote, quote, "You're sure? I'm pretty sure I finished it well," unquote. Shaerin explained to Joseph that Barron had survived the attack. Joseph said he would try again, but he wanted some money so he could pay his driver. On October 8, 2020, before another attempted murder could occur, the police arrested Shaerin Kelley, Joseph Good, and Quincy Mendez. All three were charged with attempted murder. Shaerin and Joseph did not talk to the police, but Quincy immediately confessed. He said that Joseph had been paid $13,000 to kill Barron Lee. Quincy was to receive somewhere between $4,000 and $6,000 to function as Joseph's getaway driver. Ultimately, all three perpetrators pleaded guilty. Shaerin Kelley pleaded guilty to solicitation to commit murder in the second degree and received the maximum sentence of 13 years and 9 months. The state only asked for 12 years and 4 months. Shaerin will be eligible for release in 2033. Joseph Good pleaded guilty to attempted murder and unlawful possession of a firearm. His sentence was 12 years and 8 months. He could be out in 2032. Quincy Mendez pleaded guilty to the reduced charge of assault in the first degree and was sentenced to 8 years and 10 months in prison. He could be released in 2028. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in this case. Item number 1. Barron Lee survived being shot 9 times, but suffered tremendously and had a long road to recovery. It was 15 months before he could return to working at the Toyota dealership. There are bullets still in his body, and he had a hip replacement. Some people attribute Barron's survival to Joseph's use of a pistol chambered in .380 ACP. Like this caliber is not effective at killing. The .380 ACP is kind of a controversial cartridge. For self-defense applications, many experts recommend a minimum of a .38 Special Plus P for revolvers and 9mm Luger for semi-automatic pistols. Some believe that the .380 ACP, which of course is designed for semi-automatic pistols, is enough, while others see this caliber as borderline or insufficient. Regardless of how this caliber ranks as far as lethality, Barron's survival has to do with shot placement more than anything else. Joseph failed to hit Barron in a vital organ. Now, of course, having a bullet strike one's chest would normally be thought of as incompatible with survival, but that bullet came out just a few inches away on the same side, so it caused far less damage than would be expected. Joseph must have been off to Barron's side when he fired that shot, kind of across his chest. Another factor that contributed to Barron surviving was receiving medical attention right away. Item number 2, it seems odd that Shaerin would have selected a teenager to kill her ex-husband. Usually hired killers are a bit older. Shaerin came in contact with Joseph because she had a brother who went to the same high school. Joseph in turn hired Quincy, who did not know that Shaerin had ordered the hit. As far as the motive for the murder, Baron Lee believed that Shaerin Kelley wanted the money in Eric's trust. This seems like a logical conclusion. However, Shaerin said that money was not the motive. She never revealed what the real motive was. I think it is reasonable to believe that Baron Lee was correct. Shaerin was motivated by money. It's also possible that she was motivated by revenge. Maybe Shaerin just wanted to make her ex-husband pay for winning custody. Item number 3. One of the most controversial aspects of this case is the sentencing. Many people believe the criminal justice system was too lenient as far as these 3 offenders. Let's take a look at each offender individually. As far as Quincy Mendez, he was the getaway driver and knew that Joseph intended to kill someone for money. It was not like he drove Joseph to the apartment complex only to be shocked when the victim was gunned down. Quincy ended up pleading guilty to a lesser charge and received less than 9 years in prison, when in many jurisdictions he would have been convicted of attempted murder and sentenced to about 20 years. When considering his age and his level of involvement, I would have been fine with 12 years, but there is one more important factor to consider. The victim in this case, Baron Lee, was fine with the sentence that Quincy Mendez received. He viewed Quincy's behavior as a mistake and wanted the young man to have a chance to be a productive member of society. Baron's opinion should have been given great weight by the prosecutors. In light of the mercy that Baron requested, Quincy's sentence seems fair. The same logic can be applied when evaluating the sentence that Joseph received. Baron did not want Joseph's life to be destroyed either. This brings me to Shaerin Kelley. Unlike the forgiveness that Baron Lee bestowed upon the other 2 offenders, he did want Shaerin Kelley to serve a long prison sentence. The state pretended their case against Shaerin was weak. They acted like getting a conviction for attempted first-degree murder was a risky proposition. The jury may have doubted Shaerin's guilt, and no conviction would have been obtained. The state believed that the charge she pleaded guilty to, solicitation to commit murder in the 2nd degree, was the best they could hope for. I find this very difficult to believe based on the evidence. Furthermore, if the state was really looking for the longest possible sentence for Shaerin, why did they recommend a sentence below the maximum as part of the plea agreement? I think what happened here is the prosecutors were abiding by the soft-on-crime ideology adopted by the state of Washington. There was no doubt that Shaerin was guilty, and no question she deserved the maximum sentence. For example, Shaerin selected a minor to kill her ex-husband. When he failed to kill the target, she asked him to try again, and she monitored her ex-husband's location using a GPS tracking device. The state should have taken this case to trial, convicted Shaerin of first-degree attempted murder, and recommended the maximum sentence of 26 years and 8 months. Now moving to my final thoughts. Over the years, I've covered criminal cases from all over the world. Many come from the United States. I've noticed that some states tend to be strict when dealing with violent crime, and others not so much. For example, Florida and Texas tend to favor long sentences for violent offenders. States like California and Washington emphasize rehabilitation over punishment. Looking at the state of Washington specifically, they also have a reputation for choosing not to prosecute violent offenders as often as other states. At least that is true for many of the cases I've covered. Some of the cases are just downright confusing, like the state has the evidence to convict, but they simply refuse to bring charges, or they pursue lesser charges. I think in the case of Baron Lee and Shaerin Kelley, the state should have respected the opinion of the victim. They honored his wish to show mercy to the teenagers, but then denied his wish to hold his ex-wife accountable. So really, they probably didn't care one way or the other. They were not interested in punishing any of the offenders. This sends a reassuring message to anyone who is contemplating a violent crime, but it's not so reassuring for the public. Those are my thoughts in the case of Baron Lee and Shaerin Kelley. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.